fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! 47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell so that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head...
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for basket. Got him behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1-yard line. He got him behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. The basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job. I like him to be putting his hand right there. He's looking up.
The Mania has started, and you'll find slam dunk savings and selection during our Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe. We're celebrating our 60th anniversary all year long, and that means buzzer-beating incentives and special dealer offers, like a new 24 Ford Bronco Big Bend Sasquatch, lease for $499 a month. Or a new Ford F-150, now $1,500 or 2.9% APR during this Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe. The Mania has started, and you'll find slam dunk savings and selection during our Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe. We're celebrating our 60th anniversary all year long, and that means buzzer-beating incentives and special dealer offers, like a new 24 Ford Bronco Big Bend Sasquatch, lease for $499 a month. Or a new Ford F-150, now $1,500 or 2.9% APR during this Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Had to hit you with the triple hey there, and my volume is incredibly loud in my headphones. How's everybody doing? The start of that show snuck up so fast on me. Sorry, let me turn off that AC. As always, terrible job introing the show. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. Welcome. Good show for you tonight. I was at a football practice today. I did make it out. It was pretty cool. As I've mentioned, the changing of the guard over there when it comes to that team from Bronco Mendenhall. Hey, anyway, great show for you tonight. I want to thank our sponsors, Affordable Solar, Capital Ford, Santa Fe, Tim Baca Sr., Tim Baca Jr. over at Hydro Bar. Thank you for helping us make the show even more possible. Tonight's show is jam-packed. The spring football game is tomorrow, so thought tonight we tried to get a defensive player on the other night. That was not our blunder. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, so that was not my fault. Maybe we can get Gabe Lopez on down the road. Tonight at 8 o'clock, coming up in about 12 minutes, Scottre Humphrey. He is your touted running back from the FCS level from Montana State. He will be joining the show. He joins Jason Eck as a sophomore, or he's going into his junior year, excuse me. Last year with Montana State, the Bobcats went all the way to the national championship game in the FCS level. They lost to North Dakota State. Forgot. Anyway, he had 199 carries, over 1,300 yards, 16 TDs, and he averaged 7 yards a carry. So I'm looking forward to him. That is supposed to be the strength this year of that team. Behind Richard Pierce, the offensive line is set to bully people. So looking forward to that. 8:30, Sean Ryder from the Albuquerque Journal. He is your beat writer that covers UNM football. Love Sean, great young writer. No pun intended there. Reporter. Looking forward to having him on the show. Very insightful. He's probably 3 times the reporter I was at that age. So always looking forward to talking with him. And then 9 o'clock, we were supposed to have VNA Cumber. That fell through. I apologize. We will hunt her down and try to see if that sounded terrible. We were trying to get her on the show down the stretch. And then at 9 o'clock, one of the regulars, the friends of the show, one of the members of the gang, and I didn't queue up my It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia football. If you've playing football, if you've ever seen the episode where they try out for the Philadelphia Eagles and Donovan McNabb shows up to promote McDonald's. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Ben Weissong will be on 9 o'clock. So looking forward to that. It's been a while since he's been on. Obviously get his update about Luke Wysong at the University of Arizona. Evan's on the team. Get his thoughts about what he's seen at spring practices, because I've ran into him out there, so I know he's been there. And plus, he's an alumni. Check out our website, and I'll start here, kind of like a newspaper. If you write something to us, please send it to, I didn't queue it up, the pitpressnm@gmail.com. If I feel it's worthy to post, I will put it out there. Did it with a John Abeta today. So then George Scott's written an editorial for us. So feel free to write in, send it to our email. And if it's worth posting, I'll put it up there. I was going to make a joke, and I'll abide by that. I'm not a stand-up comedian. And then the Pit Press Plus, exclusive content. And we also have, daily news up there. Try to get as much news out as we can. Obviously, a little bit slower time of year, but I think a lot of people are amped up for the spring game. But anyway, exclusive content. Check it out. Subscribe. $2 a month, cheaper than a cup of coffee, and then $25 for the year. And again, it's exclusive content. Obviously, more down the road during the academic calendar, but still trying to pump that out. Feel free to join the conversation on X and Twitter. As I've always said since we started this, tell me you hate me, tell me I suck, or compliment me. That's up to you. Again, I'm flying solo tonight. Ed Nunez is in his final weekend at Silver City. Nick and Eric had to put the wife and kids to bed. And that's a joke from the program. At football practice today, I had the pleasure, the last spring practice of 2025. I had the pleasure of talking to associate head coach and special teams head coach, or excuse me, special teams coach, Daniel DePrado. Very contagious personality. And it's been said on this show a lot since Bronco Mendenhall was hired and left. But the night and day between this coaching staff and the last, they are out there. I mean, you can follow him on Twitter and you will see what I'm talking about. He kind of pulls the Cam Newton, not like with his own language, but he has a different like fonts on his page. But it's at Coach DePrado, DAPRATO. I would hope you know how to spell coach. He's Jason X right-hand arm man. If anybody gets that reference, I'll buy a cup of coffee or a beer. He's Jason X right-hand man when it comes to the coaching staff. I mean, he's second in command. Rob Portnoy and I were talking to him today, and again, the enthusiasm and the approach that this coaching staff is taking with this team and trying to get this community rallying behind Lobo football is unlike anything I've ever seen. And Ed Nunez and I were talking about it. You have to think about it. Since Rocky Long, what, 5 head coaches? My friend, Mike Loxley, Bob Davey, Danny Gonzalez, Bronco Mendenhall, and now Jason Eck. Obviously, Jason Eck has yet to coach a game. He's, I guess, the Mike Shepard lineage, which you go back to the late 80s, early 90s. John Romero, if you're watching, I know you're the Aggie, but you can probably comment on that. From Easy Ed Johnson, old writer I used to work with at the Journal, he talked about Mike Shepard, how nice of a guy he was. But they were, legendary for how bad they got beat. I think they lost to Fresno State, 90 something to 17 and 91 or something. 92. I would have to look that up. But great guy, couldn't coach. So that's, the jury's still out of that on Eck at UNM. We know what he's done at Idaho. We had a gentleman on by the name of a Sandia High School grad, Ben Bertram, on. You can go to our YouTube channel, hit like, hit subscribe, Pit Press NM. And he played at UNM under Danny Gonzalez and transferred over to Idaho and played for Jason Eck. And he basically said he will get everything out of his players. I mean, look at that Idaho team. They gave Oregon all they could. And Ben was on the Idaho team when they went to Wazoo, which Pullman and Moscow, everything in Idaho is pronounced different. It's not Boise, it's Boise. It's not with a Z, it's a C. You see it, SEE. But he basically said his first year they had to go to Washington State and they thought they were going to get pummeled, and they had a chance to tie the game like on the last play or to take the lead. I forgot what he said. So we know Jason Eck is going to get the best out of his players. At least he hasn't guaranteed a third digit on the scoreboard. But it's just it just seems to be a different feel around that area. I wish physically things looked better, and I know they're doing construction, I think, starting today in the south end zone, but just there's weeds in for the most part, it looks nice, but the hill, the stadium's built in a hill, and the south end zone does not look like the north end zone where you're looking at just long grass. I don't, if I'm a recruit, why would I want to come here just looking at that? Obviously you're sold on other things, obviously playing time. But I'm sure that has a factor in. So I'm excited for tomorrow night. Again, the spring game is at 6 tomorrow night. It's open to the public. It's none of the Bronco bullshit where you get 15, Sean Ryder gets 15 minutes to watch a practice. There's a kids clinic at 5, and then they're having a tailgate, which I meant to bring up. And forgive me for that. I won't be able to make it, but I will be there as early as I can. Football. Let's see if I can find it. Kids clinic. If you need to know where the kids clinic is, Stadium West. Gates open at 4:30. check in at Section B, and it's obviously free to kids all under 12. And then there's the new Senda deal where they've put the logo on the field. The stadium didn't change its name. Soar no more. Let's see if I can find it. If I can't find it by the time Scottre Humphrey comes on. But yeah, anyway, I'm interested to also see what the crowd will be tomorrow night. It's a Friday night. I know it's a pseudo holiday weekend, so I don't know. I'll be interested to see that. If you are watching, feel free to comment on YouTube and Twitter if you're going or not, and if you're not going, why, and if you are going, why would you? I mean, there's probably nothing else to do tomorrow night in this town than giving it as Good Friday. But yeah, the doors open for the kids clinic at 4:30. Obviously, they had a couple of transfers. Talked to Sean Ryder about that. And obviously, with the portal opening as of yesterday, what's today? Thursday, yeah. Yesterday, I know that Eck, and I'll ask Sean Ryder about that, is who they will need to get in. I know defensive line is a super important hole to fill. X talked about that since I think spring ball started. There was still basketball being played at that point. I don't know. I think we'll also learn a lot about this team tomorrow night. Obviously, it's a long road from April 18th to Labor Day weekend, and a lot can change. But as I've mentioned, I think the enthusiasm there, and for a guy like me, and if you've listened to the show, you know, I was jaded, so it's a breath of fresh air. I'm gonna go to the comments first. Bo Hightower, Wysong. What is the construction project for the south part of the football stadium? What improvements are they doing? I don't know. I'd have to ask Frank. I just know it's somewhat under construction, so have to find out. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. When we are joined, when we come back after the break, be joined by running back transfer from Montana State, Mr. Scottre Humphrey. My name's Ryan Tamori. Thanks for listening to that wonderful opening rant as I fly solo. My name's Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name's Ryan Tamori. Flying solo tonight. I hope that opening intro wasn't as bad as what the NBA play-in tournament has been. Heyo. Super happy to have this guy on. I'm very excited, and I'm sure as Lobo fans should be. And nothing's working tonight, so I'll just bring him on. He is your latest running back from Montana State. And last year, as I mentioned in the opening, 199 carries, 1,386 yards, 16 TDs, average 7 yards a carry. And then I forgot to bring it up in the damage he did against UNM in the opening game of the year. His name is Scottre Humphrey, running back for the University of New Mexico. Scottre, thank you for your time on a random Thursday night. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate having me. Let me be on.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate your time. Obviously, you played at UNM back in August. In that nice, nifty come from behind win. Now you wear the Lobo on your shirt right now. Had you ever been to Albuquerque before? And if you hadn't, what did you think? And now that you're living here, what do you make of Albuquerque, New Mexico?
I like it. I mean, I like it. I like the community out here. You know what I'm saying? It's very diverse out here. So it's really music to my ears how much of a diversity it is here. You know what I'm saying? I'm really getting close to my teammates out here. So it's a good change. I feel like it's a good, better fit for me.
A lot of Lobo fans are happy to hear that. I can tell you that. How did the conversation go with Jason Eck and the offensive coordinator? How did you find yourself at UNM?
Well, Coach Eck, I played against Coach Eck twice this year. I didn't play the second game, but I played him beginning of the middle of the year season because he coached for Idaho when I played for Montana State, and we played against each other. And I've always known that he was a great coach, and the stuff that he's done in Idaho's program in like such a fast time, it was crazy. So we already had that connection. And then when I finally really had a conversation with him, I already could see like how genuine, you know what I'm saying, type of coach he is. So it was kind of an easy choice for me.
Do you still give him a hard time for the going 2-0 last year in FCS, or do you guys not talk about that?
I mean, we bring it up sometimes here and there, but it's nothing crazy. No, that's my guy. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You look at your stats, and I knew who you were going into last year, and I was, I'm not Lobo fan per se, but I was like, man, I feel like these guys are going to run, right over UNM, and you rallied. And it was, from a fan standpoint, was an exciting game. You had 19 carries, 140 yards, a touchdown, and averaged over 7 yards, just like your season record, just like your season average. What, and I know it's like almost a year later, but can you kind of walk us through the comeback back in that first game of the year?
I mean, really, we just preach to never give up, really, and we went in the game thinking that we were gonna win anyways. Honestly, we knew that if we just, you know what I'm saying, did what we had to do, did our assignment, you know what I'm saying, we run the ball well, then we'll be able to win. And that's what we did. Ran the ball well, and then end up getting that last touchdown and win the game.
It was an incredibly exciting game. It seems that Jason Eck wants to run the ball. And Saturday, I think you had a couple touchdowns, and I'll ask you about the tight ends because the tight ends had a phenomenal day too. But this offense, what can Lobo fans expect? Not finite details, but what can Lobo fans expect from the offense maybe a little bit tomorrow night and in the fall?
I mean, I feel like we're not going to be one-dimensional, really. We're going to be able to run the ball, but I feel like our receiver room is really deep. You feel me? Our tight end room is deep. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of talent all around that we bring in. So, I'm confident in our offense. I feel like we can be, you know what I'm saying, high rankings this year for surely. Yeah, I'm excited for this year for sure.
I don't think the FCS is kind of any joke, but are you excited? Because I love it. I love watching it, and I'm a degenerate gambler. That's another time for that's another conversation down the road. But I love the FCS playoff. I was super happy that Division 1A went to the 12 teams, and even though it kind of went lackluster, but your Montana's, your Montana State's, your South Dakota, some of the Missouri Valley, and then the Big Sky. Are you excited to be in the Mountain West this year?
Yeah, 100%. You know what I'm saying? That's the main reason I got in the portal, because I wanted to play. You know what I'm saying, the competition. You know what I'm saying, to get me prepared for the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So I knew what I'm saying? The Mountain West is, you know what I'm saying, the place that I can strive at. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did.
You were kind of in the vicinity, and I'm going to go to this question now that you mentioned the NFL draft next Thursday. Do you have any kind of relationship with Ashton Genty? Have you ever met him? And then did you read what he wrote in the Players Tribune about how he said, quote, I draft the guy they can't tackle. I'm sure that's got to amp up any running back. But did you hear about that? And do you have any kind of relationship with him? I know that's kind of a loaded question there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know him personally, honestly, but I mean, I've seen him. You know what I'm saying? He's a dog in the field. You know what I'm saying? So I've watched him throughout. You know what I'm saying? His college career.
What, and he mentioned, you draft a guy that you can't tackle. What kind of running back? I mean, you're low to the ground. What kind of running back would you describe yourself as?
Like a real north and south runner. I feel like I'm a one cut and go type of running back. For me, I'm not really a shake you. For me, type of running back. I'm run behind my pads. You know what I'm saying? Break tackles. You know what I'm saying? My lateral movement and my finding the hole is it's getting a lot better. Especially, like I'm saying, my coach JJ has been helping me out a lot. I mean, he's saying like slowing down and just like seeing everything. You know what I'm saying? He's helping me a lot with that. So I feel like I'm just like a downhill runner. You know what I'm saying? One cut and go. Run behind my short pass.
Is there any running back? I ask this to every player I talk to because it's a softball question. Is there any player that you find yourself watching more that you imitate your game off of?
I want to say imitate, but like I watch a lot of film on Adrian Peterson, just because like his burst and like how physical of a running back he was. You know what I'm saying? Like when he got to the second level, there's nobody that can really catch him, and then he ran behind his shoulder pass and hard runner. So I watch a lot of Adrian Peterson.
Like that answer. Is there any reason you're number 22?
I mean, I was number 9 like my whole life, but like those at Montana State, there was another running back. His name was Isaiah Fonse, and he came from um, Washington as well. So when he left, and I came in as a freshman, I just wore his number because I looked up to him. So I wore his number. You know what I'm saying, just to represent it. You know what I'm saying, for the city.
We had Dimitri Johnson on. I'm sure you've gotten to meet him. He's number 22. If you guys had an argument, obviously being offensive defense, or you boys with Dimitri, what's that about with number 22?
Yeah, that's my guy, man. You know what I'm saying? He could wear it. You know what I'm saying? He was here before me, so I can't you know what I'm saying, act like it's my number. But I mean, I'm gonna represent it just as well as he is.
You're from Seattle, Washington, Rainier Beach High School. I'm quite shocked that you didn't mention Marshawn Lynch. Are you a Seahawks fan or not a Seahawks fan?
I'm not really too much of a Seahawks fan for me. A lot of my boys are, but I'm not really a Seahawks fan. I'm more of a Cowboys fan, honestly. Um, but I love Marshawn Lynch too. I watched a lot of him. He was him in his prime was just really incredible to watch. You know what I'm saying? His contact balance was insane. But yeah, I watch him. But I mostly watch Adrian Peterson just because, you know what I'm saying? It's my guy.
No, understood. I have New Jersey roots, so you're talking. I'm the token guy here. As a New York Football Giants fan, you are home. Ed and Eric couldn't join me tonight. The other guys at host, but I am perennial surrounded by Cowboy fans. So I will plead the fifth and not making any not take any cheap shots at you. And I'm praying.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no, I'm praying.
Everybody wants to take shots at the Cowboys, man.
Well, it's easy to do. I'm praying that the Giants take Abdul Carter next week. But UNM football, we had a gentleman by the name of Ben Bertram on. He played for Jason Eck at Idaho. And you've probably obviously been to a game at the Pit. I grew up in Albuquerque. 20 years ago under Rocky Long, you couldn't walk in the stadium. I'm sure you've heard the rumors. What do you about, attendance at the games? Winning cures all, but how do you think you can feel telling Lobo fan, hey, we're going to be excited. This is going to be an exciting brand of football. Come out to the stadium. What would you tell Lobo fan?
I mean, honestly, I think this year, rather than a lot of last year's teams and stuff, I feel like we're really focused on winning. You know what I'm saying? Like taking day by day, win the day. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not looking too past any day. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at the next day, what's in front of us today, and we're gonna challenge ourselves to be the best person that we can that day. And then I feel like, you know what I'm saying, you keep stacking days, and then you're gonna just be better. You feel me? And then it's gonna help us out during the season.
I appreciate that answer. Jason, Coach Eck has this thing that is, and you may have kind of answered it just in that question, but he has championship behavior and then championship behavior club. I kind of like that slogan. I've actually never heard it, but what does championship behavior mean to you?
Just doing what you're supposed to do, man. Doing your 111th, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only control what you can do. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just can do your job, and everything else is gonna fall into place.
I hadn't asked anybody yet, but the hammer that is given out at the end of practice, I don't know what it is. Could you tell myself and our listeners and viewers what it is?
It's pretty much like who represented like championship behavior the most that day. You know what I'm saying? Who made the most plays? You know what I'm saying? It's basically player of the day.
That's awesome. I love it. Obviously, Coach Eck is pretty everybody, and I talked to Coach Daniel DePrado. I know he's a special teams coach, but he's associate head coach. Got to talk to him today. Actually, I'll backtrack. What do you know about Coach DePrado? I know he's an associate head coach. I don't know. I mentioned it at the top of the show. He's got kind of a contagious, persona. Can you comment on him?
I feel like coach brings a lot of like great energy just like around like the whole facility. You know what I'm saying? Every time, you know what I'm saying, he's around, like he just brings good vibes to the team, and I feel like he like makes me want to be like a better player, because like the stuff that he says, like it just really hits home. You know what I'm saying? So I really respect that coach, like, really realistically.
That's awesome. With Coach Eck and his social media presence, do you follow him a lot? I mean, I'm starting to show my age, so I don't know who the hell Young Gravy is, but he was at Fiestas, which is a thing at Johnson Field here in Albuquerque. Do you kind of what kind of grade would you give Jason Eck's performance on social media?
Like grade, like ranking it? Like,
yeah, or just a grade like A through F, or rank it out. It's up to you.
I mean, I think you got an A. I feel like he shows his family, you know what I'm saying? He shows his football stuff. Probably like an A. That's a good guy.
Hey, straight to the point. I appreciate that. I'm sure he would too. Kind of switching gears back to football. What did you hope to get out of spring football, first time here at UNM? And what do you hope to get out of the spring game tomorrow night?
Just like doing my job, you know what I'm saying? Like really focusing on like learning the plays, you know what I'm saying? Taking it day by day. Just really trying to focus on doing my job, because I know what I can do. And if I tone into like what I can like the small little details, and I can, sky's the limits, you know what I'm saying? So just gotta focus on the details, and then I'll be good.
The devil's in the details, I guess. But I don't even think that applied there. I'm doing a great job of hosting the show tonight. Can I ask? Montana State, I thought had a pretty good helmet. And I don't know if I was going to ask Gabe Lopez this, and I know you're new. There's a shield, and you're wearing it on your shirt right there. I am anti-shield, and everybody has the new script that says Lobos on it, or UNM. If you had to pick, and I know you're still fairly new, if you had to pick a logo on the helmet, what would it be?
Probably the Lobos. I kind of like the words on the helmets are cool. That's kind of probably the Lobos. I think the Lobos is way better.
Okay, thank you for that. You're the first one, and that's what I'm leaning towards. Is there anything, again, we're joined by Scottre Humphrey, transfer from Montana State. And dude, I got to read your stats again. It blows my mind. 199 carries, 1,386 yards, 16 touchdowns, and an average of 7 yards. Do you know who the wide receiver Ricky White is?
Ricky White, yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, UNLV. I'd probably be drafted next Thursday night. So we talked to him in Vegas last year, and I had his numbers written down like exact, and I butchered him, and he corrected me. Then I'm bringing him up because have you met former UNM running back Dontrell Moore, like legendary?
I haven't met him.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I hope you meet him, because again, he grew up 20 years ago. One of the best running backs. He's from Roswell. But he's a guy that is super, super particular, because I introduced him on the show and butchered his stats. So I hope you can appreciate that I got your stats, and I had them up. And I think lastly, before I let you go,
Mm.
and again, appreciate your time tonight.
Of course.
I was looking at, Montana State's in Bozeman, Montana State's in Bozeman. I don't want to mess it up. Montana State's in Bozeman, Montana's in Missoula.
Exactly.
And I love both of those stadiums.
Yeah.
But can you describe what, it's, even though there's smaller schools and smaller stadiums, can you describe what game day is like at Montana State?
I mean, they were always packed out. You know what I'm saying? I think it was like we sold out every game. I think at the beginning of the year, every game, it was packed out every game. The Montana Stadium was trash. It's terrible. I hate the maroon. It's ugly. But the Montana State Stadium, yeah, it was pretty nice. You know what I'm saying? The fans came out, but Montana's it's trash, yeah.
Oh, I love it. There's another school in down south New Mexico that wears maroon. Have you heard of any of the rivalry between NMSU or UNM? Has anybody spoken to you about that?
Nobody's really spoken on the rivalry too much to me. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, I already kind of got a little hate in my heart for them, so it's kind of already boiling.
A lot of our listeners and viewers will appreciate that.
Yeah.
There was a joke here, and I'm sure. I think now this year it's 2 games, so I believe that if you guys can beat New Mexico and Utah State, not saying we just want you to win 2 games, our fans want you to win 2 games, but I think if you beat UNM and Utah State next year, nobody will care the rest of
when we win.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you see the schedule at Michigan.
Yeah.
You guys got to go to the Rose Bowl. You have a lot of talk about Nico, and I just like everybody else, I butcher his last name, Nico Imaleva. I hope I had it right there. You guys get to play at Allegiant Stadium. Then you get to go to Boise. Those are some very, very cool stadiums. Are you looking forward to not just playing in those venues, but the challenge of maybe the Rose Bowl or the Big House in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I'm looking forward for the challenge, of course. You know what I'm saying? Play good in those games. You know what I'm saying? You put your name on the map. So that's what I'm looking forward to do.
I wonder if you guys are going to be watching any Appalachian State highlights, even though that was a zillion years ago, and I'm starting to show my age. Once again, he is a transfer from Montana State. Can't wait to see what you can do tomorrow night, and then in the fall, Mr. Scottre Humphrey. Thank you for putting up with my terrible questions tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Perfect questions, man.
Perfect. I'm way hard on myself. We will bug you down the stretch, man, but thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Bows up.
Appreciate it. All right. That was Scottre Humphrey. Very, very cool interview. And I still can't get over his stats, man. Over 7 yards a carry. I don't know. He's like, I didn't want to say it to his face, but he's like a little bowling ball. I'm sure he hears that and he probably gets upset with it. But man, he looked like a bruiser last Saturday. So incredibly excited about that. I wanted to go back to this question real quick before I give Sean Ryder a call here in about 10 minutes. Michael Cedillo, what is the construction project for the south part of the football stadium? What improvements are they doing? I hate to say it, but I have to do it. I don't know. I don't know if they're just working on something just to fix something up on that end zone, or they're completely redoing it. I don't know. Obviously, the weight room was the latest addition, which if you haven't been in that weight room, I will give it a lot of credit. It's pretty cool. I think probably we talked about this Tuesday night, now that we're talking about construction. I don't think they're going to build a new stadium just because they built that new weight room. You could probably build the stadium around it. I don't know if you could bowl it or add new seats. My big pet peeve, and I was talking about it earlier in the show, is the south end zone and just the hill there with the grass. I think the south end zone is, and you have like fences, you just have like the steel fences there. I don't know if it's just, the best look. And Ed kind of brought it up Tuesday night. You put $60-70 million into the pit almost 2 decades ago. What is that going to get you if they could do it, if they could afford it right now or next year? Obviously, nothing's going to be done now, being that it's almost it is the middle of April. And hopefully, I hope everybody filed their taxes or got an extension. But I don't know. It'd have to be a question for Frank or somebody in the athletic department. But and it's very weird because if you've ever walked behind the South Stadium, there's the Brian Urlacher indoor practice facility. And then there is some nice like benches, and they have a couple benches that have Lobos in them. And then there's the old school logo when you're walking into the facility, the tower. And then being up in the tower, you know, Bob Davey used to do the interviews up there. It was nice. You know, the old weight room, that's something I could probably ask Ben in about 30 minutes. Where Rocky or Bo, you know, they where Rocky lifted weights with them. But I mean, that weight room, I don't think is much, but those were a lot of blue collar guys. They probably didn't care. And then Bob Davey painted over all the signatures. That's another question. Ben, that's another question I can ask for you if you want to answer it. But yeah, I'd heard about that. So I know that rubbed a lot of people wrong. And I don't know the whole details about that story because I was in New Jersey during some of Bob Davey's years here, which I forget he coached here. I don't know why. And he won a bowl game and got to 2 bowl games. It's a very, very funny thing. Yeah, I saw your comment, Ben. Yeah, oh man, not good. You know, I mentioned it Tuesday night. That stadium is weird because you look at it and there's a little bit of feel that it's a college football stadium, and then, you know, and I loved it 20 years ago and when I was younger, and when I thought it was the coolest thing in 2000, 2001 when they made it a horseshoe in that north end zone. I mean, it was I look back, I think that was kind of a big deal. Ben, I don't think you're that big of a Bob Davey fan. I guess we could find out. Yeah, I'm interested to see that. Maybe I can get an answer tomorrow night. I want to throw this out there again. The spring game tomorrow night is free. There's a kids clinic at 5. They're doing a tailgate, which what I was looking for on the UNM Twitter page, and now I can't find it. Oh, here it is. You know what? Let me share my screen. Once again, great job of hosting. There it is. Come tailgate with us. Join us in kicking off the 2025 Lobo Club Thank You Week with an awesome. Oh, it's a Lobo Club. Have some fun before watching the UNM Lobo football spring game. Food will be provided by Laguna Burger and refreshments will be available. We can't wait to see you there. There you go. 4 to 6. And again, the kids clinic's at 5. It's for everybody 12 under. But I will say this, and now that I can piggyback off of it, is I have 1 vote for the Lobo script, and I am going to start this movement, whether it gains a lot of steam or not. I hate the shield. I take the old 1960s logo behind me, and I take the UNM, the new font that they have. What is it on Yale and University, that new UNM? And I don't wear it on the show because I'm objective. I try to remain objective. Hey, I'm still UNM alumni. I do wear shirts. I bum around them in the house or when I go out. I'm waiting for like one of the super regulars to take a photo of me. I had to get ready for the NHL playoffs, even though the Devils will probably get kicked out of the first round by the Hurricanes. I am starting the movement to try to get, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, and I'm sure nobody's listening to me at UNM, get rid of the shield. I think the shield looks like something in Madden 04 where you created a team. Feel more collegey. And I've told this story many a times. Allegedly, the shield is a Steve Alford product. Now, again, if you listen to the show, I'm a Steve Alford defender. I had the pleasure of covering those teams at the Daily Lobo when he was here during the heyday. Of course, I hold the 2009-2010 team in high regard, but that apparently is allegedly his baby, and I'm okay with it, I guess, on center court, whatever. I wish they'd put the script and the state of New Mexico around it. Look, I'm stealing that idea from Rutgers. They have the R and the outline of New Jersey on the court, or have like a cartoon Lobo dunking like Louisville does. But I am hoping that UNM removes the shield off of the helmet and goes with that Lobo behind me, the script. And let me see if I can bring it up before I take a quick break to call Sean Ryder and have him on the show, beat writer from the Albuquerque Journal. There we go. Okay. There's Pit Press Plus, $202 a month. This script, I hope they would put that on the side of the helmet. And I heard that they had a white script with a red helmet prototype. I don't know if I'm supposed to be giving those details. This isn't Bronco Mendenhall's program. Nobody's invading Normandy, but I cannot stand this. I hate it. I hate it. I just do not like it. So I'm all for the script. That is what I would love to see on the helmet. And change of regime, fresh start. And if they did that, I mean, I would be all over it. I do love that script. So I sound like a broken record. I used to host a show by myself, and thought I got pretty good on it. Thought I got pretty good with it, and now I haven't done it in a while. So when we come back, Sean Ryder of the Albuquerque Journal, he'll help this sinking ship with moving it along and give you more insight than I can, because he's done a damn good job covering the program. They can do like a community vote or something with these designs. I mean, I'm all for it. Democracy at its finest. All right, my name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. We'll be right back.
The Mania has started, and you'll find slam dunk savings and selection during our Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe. We're celebrating our 60th anniversary all year long, and that means buzzer-beating incentives and special dealer offers, like a new 24 Ford Bronco Big Bend Sasquatch, lease for $499 a month, or a new Ford F-150, now $1,500 or 2.9% APR during this Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. Happy to have our next guest on. He always makes time for us, and I much appreciate it. His name is Sean Ryder, and he is the beat writer for the UNM football team from the Albuquerque Journal. Sean, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. Good to chat with you.
Oh, always a pleasure to chat to you. So is it Knicks in 6 or is it Pistons in 7?
I'm thinking Pistons in 7. Yeah, I'm thinking I got that on the brain, man. I feel pretty good about that one.
I won't be upset. It's been many years of heartbreak. I will ask you this, and I know you've been around the program, 2 years now. And I just kind of ended that last segment, with what their new helmet should be, because I think it's kind of floated around. This is pure speculation. Would you like to see them get rid of the shield and put something new on the helmet, or do you not have a dog in this fight?
Yeah, it's tough to say I have a dog in this fight. I don't think my opinion really matters in the sense of compared to that of a general fan. From a pure aesthetic standpoint, I don't know if I love the shield. I think the shield has grown on me a bit. I think ideally, at least in my brain, you go back to the kind of old 80s wolf head and really unique, but it's probably not going to happen. But I do like when they do the throwbacks there. I think it's a pretty solid look. But yeah, I don't feel super strong about any of the logos or the jerseys or whatever.
No, I can understand that. That's about the only thing I show my alumni hat on for. I'm like, I want that shield gone. We had we had Scottre Humphrey on before you, Sean Ryder, and I'm sure you've had the pleasure of talking to him. He had a pretty good day on Saturday. This running back room, and I'll ask about the tight ends because they had a great Saturday. But the running back room seems pretty good. I don't know. What do you make about Scottre? And he's just got to be kind of a slam dunk transfer.
Yeah, I mean, it's slam dunk comes into play when they're you're racking up real yards and all that, but it is right. It's so far so good. He's exactly kind of what I believe this coaching staff kind of expected, if not a little bit more. I mean, he's done a really good job this spring. I mean, he has brought a certain edge to the running back room. Just how physical he is. He's a really bruising runner. He's got a little more pop. He's a little faster up front than I kind of remembered in terms of the Montana State, faster up close, I should say, than I remembered from the Montana State game last August. So, yeah, I think I think he's been a really good pickup for them, and I think the main thing is just making sure that he he stays with UNM and all that too going forward.
Yeah, I would imagine that's probably a big deal. I thought that kind of popped in my head when when I was talking to him earlier. What would you say is the strength of this team right now? And I'm going to gather it might be the offensive line.
I would say probably, yeah, the offensive line and the running backs at this point. So let's go with the run game. I think that is pretty clearly the strength. I don't know if this offensive line is better than last year's O-line. That was a pretty good O-line in a lot of respects. I don't know if it's better than the one 2 years ago. But I feel like I've seen enough, frankly, to say that I do believe it is the strength of the team, and and I think they're certainly going to play a very big role, in kind of helping what this offense will do well. Yeah, I would probably say the run game at this point, to be honest with you. That's not to say that they've been just running it down the defense's throat, all throughout spring practice. That's usually not how it ever goes. But at the same time, I think I've seen enough in terms of even some of the injured backs, TJ McKinney and Dede Buchanan out of Idaho, those guys, brought a good deal to the running back room. And yeah, there's just a lot of different styles and a lot of different things that they can do. And, I'm pretty curious to see how they get the most out of that room going forward.
I think I kind of snuck in on Brad Benson there. He was talking to Dorian Thomas, the tight end. You had mentioned that to me because when I go to these spring practices, I'm better at shooting the shit than paying attention than what's going on. But the tight ends, you turned and looked at me and said, you're like, man, hey, there's been 4 touchdowns and they've scored 3 up to a certain point on Saturday. And Dorian Thompson is kind of a big wide, I know he's blocking. He mentioned he might be like a big wide receiver, but can you talk about the tight ends? And they look pretty damn good on Saturday.
Yeah, and obviously you can't talk about the tight ends without mentioning, Kean Need, the Weber State transfer. He's no longer with the program. He is, in the portal. He was considered their best blocker throughout spring practice, which is kind of the de facto tight end one. Helps set up a lot of the 12 personnel stuff that they do because, you kind of need that presence. So certainly they're going to look to add to that room with only 3 tight ends left. But yeah, no, I think you hit it dead on with, Dorian Thomas kind of being a little bit more of a big receiver mold. I talked with offensive coordinator Luke Schleissner this week, and he kind of said the exact same thing. He's like, we've lined him up outside, and he's shown he has that ability, and we just don't have that. We don't have that frame, or we don't have that size receiver in that room right now, and he's done a good job helping with that. So I know his coaching staff really likes the potential with him and the rest of the tight end room as well. Cade Keith, the TCU transfer. I mean, he's pretty young, and he's wasn't as big as I expected him coming in, but he's definitely shown he's got a really nice pass catching ability. And then Aiden Valdez from Campbell has been pretty dynamic as well too. He probably should have had 2 touchdowns on Saturday because he had I'm blanking on what the first touchdown was, but I know he had a drop pass right in the end zone that was wide open, and just didn't convert on it.
Sticking with that, and if anybody needs an update on the UNM roster, head over to the Albuquerque Journal. Sean's got 10 players to watch. I was going to ask you about him already because he's a Kansas State, Big 12 P4 player. Keegan Johnson. He looks like he will be their wide receiver 1. What do you know about him, and what have you seen?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it is kind of nuts. The level of optimism, it might be the right word, that he's kind of provided to that wide receiver room. And that's not to say that guys like Michael Buckley or Sean Miller or Isaiah Blair or Cater Jope, weren't having good springs and all that. I think they've definitely been doing good stuff. But just that guy, Keegan Johnson, I mean, just his ability to stretch the field. Again, going back to talking with Schleissner, I mean, his play speed is frankly insane. The speed at which he plays is kind of nuts. He had a really, really good sideline catch on Tuesday. It was just kind of sandwiched between the sideline and John Johnson, the cornerback, and came up with it, Johnson on Johnson crime. So he really has done a good job in the final week and a half of spring practice after starting, spring with an ankle injury and was recovering from that. So, yeah, I think, if you haven't seen him yet, I do recommend, going out and taking a look at him because I think he's kind of exactly what this wide receiver room needed. I think they're probably going to have to add, maybe 1, maybe 2 more guys to that room, but we'll kind of see what's available. But I think with Johnson healthy and kind of in the mix, this receiver room is in a much better spot than we figured they would be at the start of spring practice.
Now to the person that gets him the ball, and I should know better how to pronounce this guy's name, but James Laubstin, I said it right there, right? Or did I not? Lobstein. Man, I've just been butchering everybody's name.
I've been back and forth. I've been mispronouncing it, Lobstein, but yeah, it's Lobstein.
James Lobstein, and he played a year of community college football in my motherland in upstate New Jersey, North Jersey, excuse me. I know better to say that. He's gotten most of the reps, and what I've seen of him when I did pay attention at practice, obviously I know you're playing, they're playing the same team, but I thought he made some very, very good plays. And I don't know if they're going to have to beef up quarterback, but I'll leave that to your answer. How's he played and what do they do at quarterback?
They're definitely going to kind of start on the final point. They're definitely going to add at least 1 quarterback. They have, they only have 2 right now. And they're going to have, they only have 3 right now. I'm forgetting about Jack Lane. Jack Lane obviously sidelined with the elbow injury, so they're going to have 4 in the spring for sure. Sorry, in the fall, with Toa Fabe, the De La Salle kid, coming in as a freshman. But Jason Eck has kind of said, he's like, I prefer to have 5 quarterbacks, and I would rather have 6 and 4. So they're definitely going to add to that room, and I am very curious to see how they go about that. But yeah, I mean, right now it's just Lobstein and Gabriel Mochenbacher, excuse me. Another tricky last name pronunciation there. It's just those 2 guys playing right now, and it's been that way for a minute. I do think they are absolutely going to have to get they're going to have to push to try and get the best quarterback that they can get. At the same time, Lobstein is kind of an interesting spot. I think he's a better quarterback than he probably gets credit for from people just kind of showing up to practice and watching. I probably need to do a better job giving him credit. He's not a guy that hunts for big plays, but he's got pretty good accuracy. He's got pretty decent arm strength. It's honestly better than it wasn't super impressive to me the first couple times I watched it. And as I've seen him play more, certainly I've seen that kind of come into play a bit more as well. And he's a pretty good decision maker from everything I've seen. And this offense seems to be a pretty good fit for him as well. So does that mean he'll be the starter when Jack Lane is healthy? And if they add another guy and all that, I don't know. It's the question that I'll be asking, kind of tomorrow night. How open is this quarterback competition going to be in the fall? But I think Lopeskin has done some nice things. It's a cool story in the sense that he's a guy that played a couple of years in New Haven, went the JUCO route, came to New Mexico last year, and was really just a scout team guy. Was kind of working on 2-point plays and stuff like that. And now he's getting a real shot to be kind of a D1 starter.
I'm going to ask you because it popped in my head there. Michael Buckley, you had mentioned you're a big Michael Buckley guy. I think you still have it pinned on your Twitter page. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know you wrote a feature about him. You love his story. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and I think it's really impressive to me. And I think it's really, really hard to play college football at any level, frankly. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of dedication. And I think the fact that, Buckley, obviously a guy from Cabo San Lucas, and, not a place that produces a lot of football talent, and a guy that just kind of really kept grinding at it, moved to the U.S. alone when he was a teenager, was just kind of bunking with host families and all that, and, played in one of probably the best, frankly, high school league in the country, in the Trinity League in California. I think it's just a really unique story. And, he's a guy that I think is certainly going to, get some very good run this fall as well. I mean, it seems like he is, there's some improvement from last year to this year in terms of where he's at. And I certainly think he can add to the on-field product.
I will ask you about some of the transfers that left. I think probably the biggest name, and you can correct me, probably because he was kind of like wanted to be used as like a utility guy or Swiss Army knife, is Sol-Jay Maeva-Peters. I think it was injuries, and then I think I had read that he had his second kid on the way. Do you know any more about why he decided to hang it up from his Instagram post, I think?
Yeah, I reached out to Sol-Jay. I didn't hear anything back from him, and that's perfectly fine. But I do believe what Jason X said about Sol-Jay leaving the program is pretty correct. That's kind of the signs that I've gotten. It's, he's got a second kid on the way. He's got his degree. I mean, he's a guy that's played college football for a hot minute now, and just kind of wanted to move on and focus on life and all that as well too. And frankly, he probably was going to be. This is not a shot at Sol-Jay or anything like that. It's just the fact of the matter that they added a lot of running back talent. He probably was going to be the 5th or 6th guy on the depth chart. And, that's a tough spot, when you got all that going on. So, yeah, no, that's kind of all I know there. He's not in the transfer portal from my understanding.
Gotcha. Any other big names that transferred out that, maybe not so concerning or concerning?
Yeah, I think the one concerning one is Kean Mead. The rest, Vincent Santos is a guy that, didn't play in his career before last year. He was kind of in the Rhino tight end role, and they flexed him over to that. And unfortunately, kind of had a Wally Pipp situation where he got injured early, and Isaiah Silman, who's now in contention to be the starting center for this team, he stepped in and did a fabulous job at the Rhino spot, which is basically kind of they marketed it as a tight end. It really was just kind of a more flexible 6th offensive lineman. 6th blocker, I should say. And, so he is in the portal. Matt Lashley, a redshirt freshman from Las Cruces, he is in the portal as well. Kind of a playing time thing there, too. Trying to think of any others that are particularly... Yeah, I think, frankly, the rest of them beyond need, to me, the way that they've been communicating and all that, it just sounded like, playing time issues and all that, too. Just guys wanting to maybe go somewhere else and... try and see the field from there.
No. Again, I would have to say that makes sense, especially in this day and age, not to sound cliche. Joined by Sean Ryder of the Albuquerque Journal. Sean, I had the pleasure of meeting Daniel DePrado today. He is the associate head coach and special teams coach. He was and I'm terrible with adjectives, but he was a plethora of energy. His personality was contagious. I know when Frank said I was going to talk to him, and you were like, "Oh, that's a good one." You've talked to him. What do you make of him? Because I think you see, that might be one guy, but you kind of see who Jason Eck has assembled to leave this thing. I've talked to Bo, the GM, and he was awesome. But what do you, if you've talked to Daniel DePrato, what you know about him, just your thoughts on him, because he was awesome to talk to.
Yeah, I've never actually interviewed DePrato. I've just talked to him kind of on the sidelines and all that too. And I do, on one hand, I do very much enjoy the fly on the wall quality of my job of just kind of showing up and, not being a part of things and just kind of watching and taking it all in there, guys in their element, all that too. And, on one hand, I really do like that. On the other hand, it is nice every now and then, like when a coach does walk up and like introduces himself, and it's kind of rare. And DePrato did that one day and struck up a nice little conversation. And no, just a super nice guy. And you watch the way he coaches, though. It's very detailed. I certainly do enjoy watching him coach as well too. And it's not shocking to me, after seeing him work, that he was named the interim head coach at South Florida. He's a guy that I've only heard good things about from players and all that too. People seem to really like him, kind of gravitate towards him, and I think that was kind of made apparent when you were talking to him today too.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic to talk to. It was great. Just I have two more questions for you, Sean. I appreciate your time. What have you made of Jason Eck in the spring practice? I tried to ask him this on Saturday, and I'm terrible at this job. I couldn't spit it out. But he went from, and I know that's the nature of the world. He went from being hired, and it's not the Kibbe Dome. And I just thought, what did he walk out on onto the field and think oh my God, what did I do? Or, it seems like they've embraced it. And he's even said, the facilities here are better than Idaho. And I was like, well, I guess that makes sense. But what have you made of the kind of job he's done, whether it's just been on the field at practice or getting people to buy into Lobo football? Because he's done I will give him this. I think he's done a phenomenal job on social media. Maybe your thoughts on what you've seen in the 5 months he's been here.
Yeah, I think again, you kind of hit it on the head. I think he's done a really good job. And I was talking about this with JJ Buck the other day too. It's I think this is definitely a community where I think pretty much most college communities and all that, that have D1 football or FBS football or whatever, certainly I think people prefer to feel like they're a part of it in some ways if you're a fan. I think this community kind of demands it to a certain degree, and that's not a bad thing at all. I think there's a lot of places that do kind of demand it. And I think he's done a really good job kind of, feeding that to a certain degree and really making people feel like they are a part of it and all that as well. And all of that. And, that could be anything from tweeting to, opening up practice to, just interacting with people at different community events and all that as well. He's a very approachable guy. He's very straight up when you talk to him as well. A good sense of humor as well. So, yeah, I think he's done a good job in that aspect.
What do you expect from the 2025 UNM football spring game tomorrow night?
Yeah, so it's not going to be a true spring game. It's going to be kind of the offense-defense showcase with kind of the modified scoring system where, if the defense gets a TFL or, a pick or whatever, that could be a score for them too. I don't know the exact format for it quite yet, but in terms of, how the points will shake out. But if I had to, really, I think it would be kind of a microcosm of what we've seen this spring, right? I would be shocked if, there weren't periods where they weren't able to run the ball. I would also be shocked if there weren't periods where, the defense, wasn't a bit disruptive. I think we've seen, even with the defensive line being kind of on, I don't want to say shaky ground, but being a lot thinner than I know this coaching staff would prefer. There has been good production from guys like Gabe Lopez and Xavier Slayton, Darren Agu, the Vanderbilt transfer. He is a guy that seems to really be kind of rounding into form. He made a couple nice plays in practice today too. And then Brian Booker, who is just massive. Those are guys up front that have been kind of anchoring that group throughout spring. And I would be shocked if you didn't see them being a bit disruptive too. You know, and I am really, I do think, you know, you will see probably Keegan Johnson making some plays, Dorian Thomas making some plays, and on the defensive end too. I think you'll see guys like Clint Stevens, you know, who's a guy that, frankly, like probably could stand to like write a little bit more about him given the spring that he's had. I think he's had a pretty nice spring at strong safety, and Austin Brawley at free safety as well too. I mean, those guys have done pretty nice work along the corners, John Johnson and Abraham Williams.
I lied. One more question. What the hell is the posse package?
Oh, it's just dime. It's just their dime package. Yeah. So, and dime for them, that usually means they'll keep Dimitri Johnson in. So like the 4-2-5 basic, they'll keep Dimitri in, and then they'll bring in David Murphy as kind of the dime. And by the way, like I think I don't remember if I wrote it in the last week or not actually, but David Murphy's had a very nice spring. He's done a really good job, and I talked with Spence Nowinski last Saturday, the defensive coordinator, and he, you know, Spence absolutely loves David, and I can totally see why, given how they're using him in the posse package and all that too. So yeah, no, this is dime, and that is 100% a way that Murphy's going to see the field for sure. And they like to kind of I don't want to say control the game, but they want to really get stops on first and second down, set up, third and medium, third and long, and kind of go to town with posse from there.
I appreciate that, because the first time you asked that, there was a running joke, and I'm watching my language now on this show, that like Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio, and I forgot, I think it was David Blaine. And I don't know if this is true. They used to run around, and it was the expletive posse in LA like 20 years ago. So when you said that in the question, I was like, wait, Sean, my sense of humor sucks. Anyway, so because I made myself laugh, but and I lied again. I'm so sorry, because I did want to ask this. Dimitri Johnson and Gabe Lopez, seen, veteran guys like that. I've had the pleasure of talking to Dimitri. Gabe was supposed to join our show on Tuesday, and I can, even though Frank's been great, damn you, Frank, on that one. But you've probably talked to those guys. They've been around. I mean, 3 coaches in 3 years, but I mean, they're here. What do you make of that? It looks like they want to lead this defense and correct what had happened last year.
Yeah, no, it's a question I think I let off with both of them in terms of catching up with them this spring. I think Gabe's response was like, yeah, 3 coaches, 3 years, you know what it is. But it seems like those guys have really kind of embraced it. Obviously, they're going to play big roles in this defense. And I asked Dimitri about they played 3-3-5 when he first got here under Danny Gonzalez, and then they ended up playing another 3-3, although it was different in a lot of respects. For anywhere from terminology to tendencies, basically towards really, I want to say pretty much the second half of last year, if I'm remembering correctly. And then this year they got the 4-2-5 and all that too. And asked him about what's that like, being kind of playing a crucial position and with all these changing schemes and all that in your time here. And he's like, it is what it is. Like, we're just gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it work. So I try to avoid the leadership narrative unless I have absolutely nothing else to write about. But I think those guys have they've done a pretty good job at leading the defense either from up front or in the middle. So yeah, and I think getting those guys, getting Dimitri back in particular with the Pavia ruling, the extra year of eligibility, the waiver, because he was a JUCO guy for a bit. I think that's kind of an unsung storyline to a certain degree. It's pretty big for this team in particular.
His name is Sean Ryder from the Albuquerque Journal, and Brad Benson chimed in to say, "Eat a grape, coward." I just wanted to let you know that. Sean, thank you.
Maybe.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm shocked, but you're talking to a guy who doesn't eat eggs. I'm a weird guy. So anyway, I'm sure you already know that. But anyway, Sean Ryder from the Albuquerque Journal. Sean, as I always tell you, and I mean it, you do a fantastic job. And I always appreciate your time on the show. I will see you tomorrow night.
Thank you, man. I'll see you then, okay?
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. You have a good one, man.
Sean Ryder of the Albuquerque Journal. I love talking to him. I think he's a fantastic young reporter, and I could throw that out to Nick Coppola too. Brad, I'll get you on the show eventually, and then we can discuss how St. Pius is a private school. Crash and burn on that one. I am going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm happy to have one of at least one of the usual guys that joins the show tonight. So I look like I know what the hell I'm doing. Ben Weissong will be joining us. It's been a hot minute. This is the Pit Press Live, and my name is Ryan Tamori.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back. I think things are a little sluggish, so sorry about that. Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. Had to sit down because I'm getting old, and I think the lights are incredibly bright. Fix that. There we go. All right, continuing the train. The football out your ass. Let's see if it works this time because I really like it. It's been a hot minute, but I'm very, very happy to have him on. I played UNM football, 02 to 06. God, you told me this, and I butchered it again, Ben.
03.
03 to 06. Mm-hmm. I'm making you older than you are. I'm sorry. How are you?
Man, I've been feeling old lately, man.
I go to bed, and I sleep on my side, and one night, like both of my I don't know, I'm not a doctor. Like both of my rotator cuffs were on fire.
Yeah.
At like 3 a.m, and I was like, I'm still south of 40. Like I shouldn't feel like this, but yeah, it's happening. So nobody wants to hear that. I guess I'll start here. With which logo you want?
That one right there.
Okay.
Well, okay. Actually, that one out of the two, but me being as biased as I am, I'm going back to the side profile with the red outline that we had.
That you guys had the long
yeah, because there was a period where it was without it, and I think it was right. Oh gosh, yeah, right after. And I remember this one only because our equipment manager at the time, Rudy, he always called it the Weasel. It was the one right before it. So yeah, but the one that we had the side profile with the red, I think it's on UNM's field, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the one on the field.
Yeah, the one on the field is probably my favorite one. I will say though, I mean, even listening to Scottre, I wouldn't mind seeing that actually on the helmet though. The script, I think that would actually look pretty sharp.
I'm just all about it because I don't like this thing. It looks like something you, like I said, Madden 05, Madden 04, create a team. That's just what it looks like.
Right, yeah.
To
Build
me,
your high school.
yeah. And you know, like how every high school steals like a logo, like El Dorado has the Eagles, and I'm just like, what Grants or Gallup has the G, and it's for Green Bay and then Georgia. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate that. I don't even know where to start. You've been out to a couple of spring practices. What have you thought?
You know, the one thing I've noticed probably, and it's every single day that I've gone out there is that their energy is next level. It's been refreshing to see that. I mean, those guys are out there; they're having a lot of fun. You know what it seems like, and there's a lot of good things to see in that regard. I mean, their spirits are high. You would never guess that. It was you had so much turnover in a sense. Like these guys have been playing with each other for a couple of years now, but it's the energy has been great there. So that's been refreshing to see. Just both from a fan perspective and then even as a former player. But I'm glad that Richie kind of brought up that question. I think it was a good question as far as the team chemistry. I think they have it, and especially early on, considering that you had 60 guys come on. So I think it's there. The few times that I've talked to Evan about it, these guys are, they're hanging out outside of practice. These guys are getting along. I know Evan and Dorian Thomas; those guys are like two peas in a pod already. You would have thought these guys have been friends together for years now. So it's cool to see that. And yeah, these guys have been getting after it too in practice. They're playing hard. So,
you're on social media a lot, so I got to ask what you think about Jay. I'm asking everybody that because it's an easy question to ask, but it's definitely the anti-Bronco Mendenhall. I mean, he is. I hate to say it. Well, I mean, I don't really hate to say that, but it's true. I mean, he's all over the place. I don't know how you feel about that as an alumni.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because even when I look back at Coach Long, I mean, he was in some ways kind of private too, to a certain degree, not near the level that Bronco took it. I mean, Bronco was, that guy looked like he hated any and everything but football. But yeah, and it's cool to see, especially with Coach Eck. What I love the fact, especially, he's reaching out to the community. He's trying to vibe with everybody, and I think that's very refreshing, and I think it's something that this community needs at this given point in time. I mean, especially with the football, we haven't had the greatest success, obviously, as of late. And I think now, especially with this whole transfer portal stuff going on, and he kind of brings a refreshing light to this. He's he remains that positive, upbeat, which I think can be infectious. It just creates that culture. There that, hey, I want to be here. I want to come play for this guy, and I want to be able to get out into the community. So, for him, it's, it's obviously a lot more than just, the X's and O's. Like he's, he understands, Albuquerque. I think in the very short time that he's been here, we're a very close knit community. I mean, I was born and raised here, and, it's a certain type of person, I guess I will say, that, especially just being able to support this team and, so I've enjoyed him. I think he's been a great addition, and I think this guy is going to definitely bring some great success to this team.
Do you like what you see out of the promotion for this? And I know Sean said it wasn't a spring game, but I mean, that's what they're calling it. There's been quite a bit of promotion for it. Mm-hmm. Do you like that aspect of it as well?
I do. I love it. I think it's, because it gets the fans excited. It gives us something, to look forward to. I mean, especially now basketball season's over. So, we're kind of in that lull in a sense. And, then you got the transfer portal going on with those guys trying to build their new team with their coach. Yeah, I like it. I think it's great. It's, something for the fans to get excited about. Come check out the team, because before you know it, we're not going to see them again until late August. So, it's a good chance for those guys to come out, gives them something to do on a Friday night. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on Friday night in the spring. I mean, let's be real. But, just even comparing it to, some of the other schools that I've seen, I'll go with Arizona with Luke, for example, because I follow them now, and, they've got the same thing going on. I mean, those guys are having a spring showcase, and I think they've got a beer garden going on the field, for the first part of it. I mean, just all kinds of kid stuff going on. So it's total fan interaction, and I love it. So, and even looking back, during the times that we played, I mean, I remember always going out doing stuff, community outreach, things like that. So this is great.
The beer garden, if it was me 5 years ago, I'd be like, hell yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I went to UNM. You were on that. No, it was 07 when they went and beat U of A down in Tucson.
Yeah.
And I geez, I don't remember. I mean, I remember the game for the most part, but yeah, it was a good time down there.
Yeah.
So, have a U of A alumni argue against what Mill Avenue is in Tempe, but
Oh man, yeah.
that's pretty funny. What else? I mean, have you checked in with Luke? How's he doing at U of A?
Yeah, no, he's doing great down there. He's loving it. He said it's a complete 180 compared to how it was up here with Coach Mendenhall. He's got a little bit of familiarity with Coach Gonzalez because that he's the defensive coordinator, so he gets to see him every day, and those two are always, I guess, talking shit every day. It's great. He's like, he's gonna dust their D up and things like that. So no, he says he's having a good time. He's hasn't been in a receiving room ever like what they've got now. Sounds like they're pretty loaded. I know he's excited too with their new offensive coordinator, Coach Daggy. For those that are watching, he was a former Texas Tech quarterback under Coach Leach. So this guy is going to want to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. So I know Luke is excited about that. And he said it's different down there in the sense, especially with the receivers and the quarterbacks and the running backs, because there's not a depth chart. They're so loaded that, or at least they feel that they're loaded that, hey, you can rotate out and it's just next man up and you're not going to miss a beat. So he's excited. I know he's excited though with UNM too. I know he follows he follows from afar, and especially with Evan still being on the team, and he's trying to support him and some of his former Cleveland teammates. So yeah, he's enjoying it.
No, I mean, I know we had him on towards the end, I think at the end of the year, calendar year.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody about this today, and I said, you mentioned on the show what he did 3 or 4 years here, got his degree. Didn't he get he's working on his master's?
Mm-hmm.
And I for the way he played, and I said this to you during the football season, after Arizona and Auburn, I was like, he's got to be looking at by scouts. I mean, there's no way in hell he's not.
Right.
So and I was going to ask you that if he was still paying attention. Obviously, I know his brother's on the team, and he grew up here, so I'm sure he's still pulling for UNM.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's he'll be cherry and silver till his last breath. And that's the thing that that I really love about Luke is that he doesn't forget where he comes from. UNM was his first opportunity, and that's UNM also gave him his first opportunity with Coach Gonzalez. So I think there's that whole loyalty factor. I mean, I don't know for sure the details, but I think that could be a factor of why he chose Arizona. I mean, he's going back to the same guy that gave him the opportunity to play Division I football. So, but yeah, no, he will always bleed cherry and silver. I think for him, this whole power forward move, and we talked about it before, but he wants to be able to prove himself at that level. And, it was never anything against UNM. I think for him, it was a matter of like, hey, you know what, this is already going to be my third coach in 3 years, and I only got one left, so I want to make the most of my opportunity, just to put it in short. But yeah, he loves it here. He still has his guys on the team here, and he supports them from afar. So it's good to see.
I have to ask you, you were telling me about you're going to watch him play, so you won't be able to go to the Michigan game.
Right.
I forgot what you were telling me. I don't know what your travel plans are in August, though.
It's going to be wild, yeah, because shoot. Yeah, we probably won't make the Michigan game because it's probably not even hard on us. It's more so with Adam and Beth, because I think Beth is going to the Michigan game, but Adam's going to Luke's first game. I think they're playing Hawaii. And then there's also a situation where, and it actually kind of works out, I think Arizona plays K-State on a Friday night. It's one of their two. That's also the same weekend that UNM is at UCLA. So they're going to go fly out, watch the game Friday night. Then they got to turn around first thing in the morning and go fly out to LA, watch Evan's game, and then come back. So and then I think they do that again on the last week of the season because U of A plays up at Arizona State in Tempe on a Friday night. And then the next day is UNM. Who do they play last? I think it's San Diego State.
San Diego State.
Yeah, so then they got to come back first thing in the morning, and hopefully it's a semi-later afternoon game. So, I mean, not that it's long to fly from here to Phoenix, but, you still got, buffer time and want to be able to go tailgate and, stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting.
The grounds crew could spill something on the front of the plane, and you're sitting on the plane for another hour. Because that's what happened to me in Dallas on the way back from Cleveland. So there you go. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm glad they're able to do that. You were talking, and I was trying to navigate U of A's ArizonaWildcats.com, and it was hurting my head. But yes, Friday night against Kansas State on September 12th, and ASU, they're in Tempe that night, Black Friday. So that's pretty cool. At least they get to go to a lot of those games.
Well, and the crazy thing too, especially with that K-State game, for us UNM fans, Luke gets to go play against Caleb Medford. So because that's where he's at now. So I mean, whether we want to hear that or not as UNF fans, but I guess from a player's perspective, I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. I would have loved for all of those guys to stay here personally, but we could have probably done something pretty considerable, but that's neither here nor there at this point. I'm excited for this team now, though. I think these guys are showing a lot of potential and a lot of excitement. I mean, just listening to Scottre earlier, I think that running back room is probably some of the best that we've probably had in recent. I mean, I know last year's was pretty stacked too, but I think that potential's there. The whole line looks great. The couple of practices that I've been to, those guys have just been, just dominating. Even the defensive side of the ball, though, too, those guys are flying to the ball now. So, like I said, but as we all know, we'll see what it's like when they actually get on the playing field on a Saturday and it's game time. So, and they're going to have to do it right away against Michigan.
I feel so bad. I'm sorry. I have an adjustable desk and I hit it. I thought it was locked. So my desk was just moving on me. Anyway, so if that's the noise you heard, I apologize to you and our listeners. Once again, great live internet. I was going to ask you that, you're a defensive guy, and God, and I'm not here to knock those guys at all. But God, it was, at some point I felt for those guys last year, and it was very painful.
Sure.
And we had Ben Bertram on the other night, and he was like, he's going to have his guys ready to go, but maybe a little bit more in depth of what you saw defensively and offensively from the practices you went to.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I know is probably more defensively is just, especially with Coach Nowitzki. I mean, he's all about pressuring the quarterback, putting pressure on these guys, and especially getting the run fits down. Hey, you're responsible for your particular gap, and nothing else matters at that point. So, even from the secondary standpoint too, I mean, these guys have done a pretty good job of keeping these receivers in check. I'm excited about Keegan though, Johnson. Seeing him finally do his thing this spring. I know he was out for the most part of it, but defensively, I mean, considering it's spring and you're going through a whole new system with pretty much a whole new defense, I think there's promising looks there, and I'm excited to see those guys, just kind of develop over the summer, get, see what they get in the transfer portal. I'm not really sure what they're probably going to need on defense. I mean, I would imagine they're probably going to try and bring in a little bit of everything everywhere. Just because I know the roster as a whole isn't quite as filled up as probably what any coach would like at this point, but this is the day and age we're in now where turnover is just going to happen. So, yeah, I've really been liking what Murph has done, David Murphy. So I coached him JV back at Cleveland, and it's really been fun to see him kind of grow into that role now. I mean, I know he's gotten the hammer like 2 times now. They're, showcasing him on defense. So it's cool to see him as far as like, that New Mexico player kind of stepping up and, doing his thing. So, yeah, I think the defense will be in good hands though.
Like I said, I was like, what the hell is the posse package? And then I'll refrain from my terrible joke.
I've never heard that before either. It's their dime. Is that what Sean was saying?
That's what Sean said. And
okay,
when he asked the question to Eck, because I'm also, my sense of humor is terrible, and I'm a terrible human being. I'm gonna use the word terrible here. And I don't know if it was true, but I've heard its reference, and I know Sean was like, "What the are you talking about?" I could just tell on the other line, like Leonardo DiCaprio and like I think it was David Blaine, which blows my mind, and Tobey Maguire and like somebody else. They were the PUSSY posse, and I'm trying not to say that word on the show because I'm trying to watch my language. And when he said that, I looked at him and I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And then he was like, "Oh, no, posse package." So, but yes, it's their dime. So I
got it. Okay.
Because I can't tell the joke on here. Like
Yeah.
He said that during the interview, and I was so, "What are you talking about?" So, and then he said it again, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a POS and I obviously have a dirty mind." But yeah, he said it was their dime and that they throw in I think it was the 2 linebackers, and it's just that's what they call it. And not that you reference NCAA, but I think that's what it's called on there, or I forgot what it's called, but it's like you have, and obviously you can substitute it out, but that was another thing I thought of. Not that Jason Eck is doing what Bishop Sycamore did, where they were running Madden plays. But I think so that's what you can do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you think of that. And I guess since I've got you on, next question for somebody like Dimitri Johnson or the guys that have been on this team, you go from a 3-3-5 to another 3-3-5, and then you're going to like a 4-2-5 package. Would would that be complicated to do year after year after year?
I don't think so, only because looking back was, with Coach Long. So yes, we had our 3-3-5. We called that, it was special, but then, we also ran, a 3-4. So, basically the only difference was kind of like how you're saying where, we were switching the linebacker out for that Lobo position. So in that case, it'd be like Murphy coming in. So I don't think it's too hard because a lot of the times when we ran our 3-3-5, we also ran 4-man fronts. And all that would do is that you would move one of the outside linebackers down to like an edge rusher position, like a standing defensive end. So, and it wasn't really that hard to learn. The only thing that actually really made it hard to learn was just knowing what the defensive name call was. Like, for example, like for us, we called it bandit. So if you had bandit call, that always meant that the backside outside linebacker would shift over down into that defensive end spot. And then it shifted the other 3 defensive line over. So it gave you that 4-man front. So if that's something that they're kind of doing similar with these guys to where, if you got a guy like Randolph Kapai, for example, big bodied, big, tall dude, that is just fast off the line and just kind of run that edge. I mean, you could shift into that, to that formation. So I never found it to be that difficult to learn. If anything, I think that's what made our defense so hard to game plan was because I think at one point we had like 12 different defensive line fronts. And the thing is, though, is that it didn't involve having to switch the personnel. All you were doing is you were just shifting where your alignment was in your assignment.
Now I'm going to ask you this, and I hope I'm not keeping you too long.
No, not at all.
The 3-3-5, was it meant to create more chaos for wide? I don't know what I'm asking, but like I'm thinking in terms of something that I was watching on NFL films. But was it essentially to make more chaos in the secondary or hit the quarterback? I don't know what I'm asking there. What was like the idea behind that scheme?
I think it was a combination of both. I think it was a combination of the secondary and maybe more so the offensive line. Because when if you're lining up like in your base formation, but next thing you know, you've got 2 linebackers blitzing right off the bat, and they're filling those gaps, it's kind of creating like that confusion, I guess, more so for the linemen because, what they think on one blocking scheme that they might, they're doing their checks and all that on the line. But then next thing you know, when you've got, Mike Mahork or somebody coming up now through the A gap, or even like back when with with Brian Urlacher, he's coming from the low position. He's coming off the edge. I think it created that confusion with the offensive alignment. And then, even with the secondary, because you don't know who's going to be dropping back in coverage and you don't know who you're bringing. So I think it was a combination of all those things. And what I learned probably more so than anything on that defense is that we were very much a gap sound defense to the point where like on our blitzing, because that's what would create like our 4 and 5 man fronts. We would line up in a 3-3, but you're going to bring at least one person, possibly 2 every single play. And what you're doing is that you're blitzing to that specific gap that you are responsible for. So all gaps are basically going to be basically contained while being able to drop those guys into coverage and, whatever coverage that we're running compared to the blitz that we had. So like say, for example, too, like if we were blitzing 4 people we would have certain specific coverages for that. If we had like a 5-man blitz, then we had another list of certain coverages that we could run off of that. So it was very detailed and it was very scripted out. And I mean, especially for someone as OCD as I am, it was very refreshing because it's like, okay, if I'm in this formation, I know that this is going to happen. So I'm hoping that this is the case for these guys now, where it's just easy for them. It's super easy.
Do you? I'm curious, and I don't ever think I asked you this year. Do you maybe know or an idea why they had so many issues on defense last year?
I think part of it was because they were trying to do too much at one point. I think they had so much going on, like they were having to process through each play that it just, I think a lot of it was just misassignments. Even like talking with like Luke and Evan about it last year. This is coming from the offensive side of the ball. These guys they're saying like, hey, sometimes these guys looked like they were lost in the sauce. They don't know what coverage that they were supposed to be in or what assignment was supposed to be going on for them. So I think just from the outsider perspective, I mean, I wasn't there every day, but it sounded like it was just a little bit of miscommunication and maybe that these guys are just kind of drinking out of a fire hose and just not being able to process it where, like I said, compared to Coach Long, I mean, it started every summer or actually every spring where you started from ground zero. We started with the basics. It didn't matter if you were a 4-year starter or whatever, or you were a freshman coming in. Like we always started from the basics and built through it all the way through the spring and even through the summer. So that way, by the time that we hit fall ball, we were pretty much ready to go. And I felt a little bit bad, like for the guys that were coming in, like, the high schoolers, that were coming in as freshmen. I mean, they had to play a little bit of catch up, but at that point, that time though, too, that Coach Long, he usually redshirted all his freshmen unless you were just a stud, like maybe like a Zach Arnett, or I think even like Tyson Ditmore, I think played as a freshman too. So, where these guys kind of had to speed it up a little and play catch up, but I mean, it worked out.
That's fascinating. I've always meant to ask you that. I wasn't trying to pry any other information out of you. I was just scheme. And then last year I was curious because I was like, that's I think I know it's a moot point now and it's after the fact, but that's kind of disheartening because you look at somebody like Dimitri Johnson, who we've had on the show. We were going to talk.
He's
to
a
Gabe
stud.
Lopez.
Yeah.
What do you know about him? I don't know if you could comment on him.
He just has a nose to the ball and he's just aggressive. Super nice guy. The guy plays with all heart. You can tell that guy just loves football and seeing him, stick around here, to get, play, in the cherry and silver, that was something I was excited about. He was the savior of the Utah State game last year, I think. So
that's why I was asking.
Good dude. So I got to talk to him a little bit at practice a couple weeks ago and, kind of a high vibe, but he's just full of energy and, I'm glad to see that he's, around doing his thing and, basically becoming a leader of that defense in a sense. Especially with Jackson, I don't think he's probably going to come back until the summer, because I know he had his, I believe it was like a hip surgery or something like that. But, Dimitri has stepped up really well. So, and he's kind of like a leader of the defense that I view.
I will ask you this before we get out of here. In this day and age, and everybody's saying it, it's like that. I don't even know. I think I heard somebody say it was the new norm, which I was like, oh my God. Okay. But given that like guys, and you're a defensive guy like Gabe Lopez and Dimitri Johnson, Richard Pierce came back, and then Isaiah Silliman. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name.
The good old Rhino.
Yeah. That's a great name too.
Yeah.
I don't have any perverted comments on that. Anyway, but when you as a UNM alumni, and I don't know if you've talked to any other UNM alumni, if they, at least some of those guys that were part of the core team last year that still went 5-7, I mean, that's got to be a little bit of uplifting thing, and it's got to mean something to the guys that played for the program.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that these guys were able to build last year. I mean, they saw just how close they were to, making the bowl game. And, from an alumni standpoint, seeing these guys stick around and wanted to play more, wearing the cherry and silver. I mean, it definitely means a lot to us. And, just shows like just how committed these guys are to the program. It's, it's more than just about football. It's more about community for these guys. So, it's good to see. And, that's why, me personally, that's why I hope the best for these guys, especially this next year coming up with Coach Eck, another new system. But hey, let's make it special. Let's, turn this into a positive, just, build the relationships with everybody, within the team. Like I said, you got 60 new guys. So that's, that could either go one way or the other. But yeah, it's good. It was cool to see, like you said, Richard Pierce, I forgot about, that was a big addition to bring him back. I think he's going to be great. And then Isaiah is just a beast. And I think did Sean say that? I guess they're going to move him back to center possibly. So, that's good though. Hey, that kid can move. We all seen that. The guy obviously loves to hit people, and, with him being in the program for a while, he could be that leader on the, the offensive line. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
And one last question. Again, it's April 17th. I've already harped on it. It's at Michigan. I don't know what the hell UCLA is. At this point, that could be a toss-up. You got to go to Boise State. You got to go to UNLV, which I think, that's rough. I still think it's funny that Jason Eck has to play Idaho State, being that he was at Idaho.
I know.
Yeah, I think that's funny.
Yeah.
I would imagine, I think you can chalk them up for one win against UNM. And again, I'm not the homer. I just think that's going to be a win. I don't know if I believe in Tony Sanchez down south. So I've said that on record.
Yeah.
But when you look at the schedule, now I forgot what I was going to say because I was worried about talking shit about Tony Sanchez. But anyway, when you look at the schedule, does it, because we haven't had it on in a while, but does it scare you, or do you feel some optimism? Obviously, I think the two games that are checked, and they're the one that might be just as checked more than New Mexico State or circled is Utah State, which is October 25th. But I don't know. How do you feel looking at that schedule?
I feel pretty good about it. Yes. There's obvious challenges. Going to Michigan first game, you're basically getting thrown into the fire with that one. And then, you got the home game against Idaho State after that. So I think that could be a win there for sure. UCLA, who knows? I know they just signed Nico, so we'll see, what that does to the team, honestly. Especially with something like that where it can create a little bit, I guess, of drama. We'll see what that does to the culture of that team over there. I'm just going to go through it by game. I think the NMSU game at home, I think that's a very winnable game. I just saw that was Seth McGowan, I think, is hitting the portal. They're running back. That I hate to say it as UNM alum, but I got to say that dude can play some ball. So I think he's a pretty good running back. I think State losing him is kind of a significant hit. San Jose State in San Jose, I think could be a kind of a toss-up, but I've heard that those guys are actually supposed to be pretty good this year. So we'll see how that goes. Playing in Boise, that's just in itself always going to be a tough game. But then again, they lost Genty, and I don't know if Maddox is back this year, Matson. I want to say he is. They're the quarterback. So bringing the quarterback back, hey, when you can get a returning starter at that position back, that's just going to help significantly, especially now this day and age in the portals, the portal age. I think Nevada is going to be a very winnable game. I think that Utah State is going to be a very winnable game. However, I think especially with that game, I am pretty sure I will say who can control their emotions the most in that game will probably win the game. Because I know, especially on both sides, I'm sure there's going to be some emotional playing in that one. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I hope we, excuse my language on this, I hope we pack the shit out of that stadium for that one. So, go Lobos.
You've heard me talk on the show.
Lobo fans, you guys do what you will on that one. So, UNLV, I don't know about UNLV because, hey, they just got a new coaching staff. Sad to hear about what's going on with Zach Arnett. I hope everything's okay with him. I just saw that he, for personal reasons, stepped down. So, but when you got a guy like Coach Mullen coming in there, you got to assume at this point that they're going to have probably a pretty decent squad. And then Colorado State, I think a lot of that's going to depend if they have Fowler and Nicolosi back, which I'm pretty sure they will. But then again, this is only day 2 of the portal, so you never know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, I think Air Force will be a winnable game. However, I mean, it's at Air Force. That could be tough. If it's a night game, that's going to be miserable. I remember my junior year, I think we played at Air Force, and it was a night game, and it was awful. It was cold as shit. And then finally, San Diego State. I think that could also be another winnable game too. So I think the potential's there. The only concern, and I'll just be blunt about it, the only concern I have is right now is at quarterback. Yes, I know that we have Lane, and I know he's going through his, stuff with the injury, but, I got to agree with Coach Eck, though. I mean, it would be nice to have 5 guys in that quarterback room because we've seen it here before as Lobo fans. We've gone through 5 in a season, and it wasn't just long ago because when was it?
Is it 2022?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with Terry. That's right.
Yeah, I felt bad for that kid.
I know, me too, because, I mean, I felt like that we could have done special that year with him if he would have stayed healthy. But that's the thing. It's like you got to have some depth. And that's the other thing, too, is that with having depth like that, it creates competition. It creates these guys to be able to push each other. So having that, would be nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think, Lapstein has done a pretty good job, being able to get, navigate through the spring and just be able to learn. I think he's done a good job with that. So, but we'll see. We'll see what they can bring in.
Terry Wilson plays for the Winnipeg Blue. Yeah, Terry Wilson plays for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah. So, yeah, I felt bad, with him because, that guy was a dual threat athletic. I mean, I feel like that's like the one thing I will say that what UNM has had is that whenever we have like a dual threat quarterback, usually we kind of thrive on. I mean, I look at someone like Lamar Jordan, even back when we had Cole, Cole, I mean, yeah, he could throw the ball, but he was pretty good on his legs too. So, yeah, we'll see, man. We will see.
I'm going to gather you're going to be there tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, spring games are fun, man.
I'm looking forward to
this one on the lights. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think they got it right. So it's I've said it and I don't know how to say it any other way. There's a breath of fresh air. It's a brand new. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the regime is the correct word, but there is a lot going on over there, and it's more like down to earth people than somebody sitting on a high chair and like, I'm a Division I athletic director. That's the way I feel. And I liked Eddie Nunez. That was not a knock on Eddie Nunez. I just
no. I loved Eddie too. I think I thought he did tremendous things for this program, for that university. And, he will always have my respect. I mean, he was, that guy was doing the very best that he could possibly do. I mean, like up until then, I had never saw an athletic director before going up and down the stands every single game. I mean, he would walk right by us every single time. And I could tell you, Section D, very top row, hey, Wysongs, what's up? We never had another athletic director do that. And he was like that with everybody too. So, Eddie will always have my respect. I really enjoyed him. But Fernando's doing a terrific job right now too. He's great, and he's just getting started. I mean, the guy's only, a third of a year in of being an athletic director, and he's done a lot. So he's been doing a fantastic job.
I've always joked on this show that it's the UNM men's basketball team and football team. It's their job to shut a guy like me up. Because I met somebody today and they were like, hey, I didn't like what you had to say, but you were actually right. And I was like, I don't remember what I said that was right, because usually I'm wrong. But yeah. they have done things over there that in the last 4 or 5 months, and I'm like, I have to, and there are people talking on Twitter like, yo, he's this hot takes guy. No. There was a reason I was jaded towards the program, and that is, I don't even know not program department and then particular program, but it's definitely slowly diminished. And because when the program wins, it's good for us. Like I said, it's
Sure.
cliche, but winning cures all. I mean, look at what the basketball program helped us, and that's not what I'm saying here. It's just you want more content, you want more and more and more.
Right.
And now that I'm a business owner, I'm like, yeah, please win. So I think that I need to change my name to Ramble Master Flex. But anyway, I think they're doing such a good job that this UNM alumni here who, tried to remain objective. I'm still going to come on here and tell you, well, if they sucked, they sucked, or if they were good, they were good.
Right.
But I don't look at that department the same way that I did maybe a year ago, even with Eddie and Dave Williams. So I don't know, Ben, I don't know why I'm telling you that, but that's how I feel.
No, I mean, because in some ways, and I'll be the first to admit on here, I mean, I was a little bit like that way too. I mean, I would say between Eddie and, we'll reference basketball, for example, with Coach Pitino, they actually made me excited about basketball again, because I'll be the first to admit it. There was a while there where I was like, I couldn't care less about the basketball team, because there wasn't, much to be excited about. It's, some of the drama going on, but these past couple of years with these guys, I mean, you can ask my wife, if we weren't at the game, we were watching that thing on CBS or FS1 every single time that they were on TV, and before that, we never done that. So, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to those guys. They made it exciting. And I know, we're not very happy with the way Mendenhall left, with all that, but he made football exciting a little bit last year. Hey, we beat the ranked team on our home field for the first time, so it's, got to give a little bit of credit of that where it's due. But you're right, though. It's different, but also the same, where it's like, I feel excited again, and I'm like, I tell people all the time, I'm so thankful that I was, a UNM student athlete when I was, because I mean, hey, during those middle 2000s, like you said, we had the men's soccer team playing for a national championship. We had the men's basketball team at that time with, Danny Granger, those guys were tearing it up then. The ski team, those guys won a national championship there.
Right.
So it's, it wasn't just like the two major sports, but it was just a collective of like everybody. Everybody was like, in a sense, like doing their part, if you want to put it that way. So, it was refreshing. I feel like that, especially with this new administration now, I feel like there's that potential again, that we could see that here pretty soon.
Since we hadn't had you on, I mean, what did you make of the end of the basketball season?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I would have liked to see them made it to the Sweet 16. I mean, they were one half away from getting there. So it's, still excited though for those guys. And, it was fun being a Lobo fan this year for basketball. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what these guys can put together, now with, their new head coach. He seems like I was watching you guys, was it last week he was on? I mean, that guy seems like he'd be a fun guy to play for. He seems like a guy that could like totally relate to the players, which I think this day and age, just the type of player now that we're dealing with, I think that is like, that's like key at this point. I think the days of like, you got this hardcore, like you just, kind of in your ass all the time kind of coach. I think that kind of goes by the wayside at this point now. And he seems like a good guy that just totally gets these players and, tries to understand the game from their point of view as well, along with also implementing his style of basketball. So I think that's going to be fun.
03 to 06, he played linebacker, Lobo back. And Ben, it's been a hot minute. Thank you for joining us. Maybe I'll bug you next week. I know I need to get Ned James on because I think I know you've been for one of the few to text me like, hey, I absolutely love Ned. So Ben, thank you so much. Oh yeah, no, it's been a hot minute, and I got a random text from him the other day. Yeah. So he's definitely going to have to be on the agenda next week. He's going to have to be in the lineup. So Ben, thanks for joining as always.
No, thank you for having me, man. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. If anything, I'll see you tomorrow night.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
That was Ben Weissong. Always appreciate having him on. I'm going to wrap up the show here. Not too many comments tonight. Quite a few viewers though, listeners. Kino, what's up, man? Ben, a bar by University Stadium called Wysongs would do great. Just saying, Ben, I'm sorry I didn't bring that up when you were on. That would be fantastic. Again, my idea and my friend's idea was to open a place called Urlacher's and then get sued by Brian Urlacher. That was the plan of attack. Brad Benson, here you go. Eat a grape, you coward. Hey, fantastic headshot. Urlachers would be dope. Yeah. I mean, I think Wysongs would be better because maybe I can't get sued. I would think that's a great idea. Kino, I hope you didn't steal that from me for saying the for saying the Urlacher, or what was it? Yeah, the Urlacher thing, or boy, I don't know where I'm going now. I am tired. It's a great show. Thanks to Scottre Humphrey, Frank Mercogliano. Thank you very much. Sean Ryder from the Albuquerque Journal and Mr. Ben Weissong. I'm calling it tonight. We will come to you live next Tuesday and Wednesday. I am not going to go head to head. We are not going to go head to head with the NFL draft on Thursday night. Plus, I would like to see who the Giants take third. So I'm hoping it's Abdul Carter, and then everybody can give me a hard time the following week. Everybody enjoy the spring game. Have a safe and happy holiday weekend if you are a practicer of that faith. And as I always say, don't do anything that I would do. Check out the Pit Press Plus. Exclusive content, go to our website, subscribe. There is still free content on there. And if you're ever looking to find old interviews, like obviously Scottre Humphrey, Tuesday night, Ben Bertram, last week, Eric Olin, go to our YouTube channel. Please hit like and subscribe. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am in this day and age. I say it all the time to our viewers. We wouldn't be where you are, or the people that go to our website. I truly mean this. We wouldn't be where you are. We wouldn't. Wow, butchered that and then had to burp mid-sentence. We would not be where we are right now without you guys. When I started this with Eric 2 years ago, I thought we would have had like 30 people listening on a podcast on Spotify. So from where we are then, what we were then, where we are now, I've got to say I'm quite humbled, and I'm not trying to come on this show to be hot take guy. I'm just probably more a little bit, I'm not the fan. So, sorry about that. But anyway, we will talk to you next week. I hope you have a happy and safe weekend. Safe weekend. I almost said happy Thanksgiving. I don't know why. I need to go to bed. Everybody have a good one. And as I do always say, I will say it again, don't do anything that I would do. Have a good one.